I would wake up in the middle of the night and I discovered that my mom was praying, holding my legs, and her tears were touching my legs. And then she was praying profusely. And then it concerned me a little bit, because if I woke up and I saw my mom was crying and holding my legs and her tears were touching my legs, sleep would just leave my eyes. And I kept wondering, why is she crying? Is it anything? Is there so? One day we were coming back from a Wednesday midweek service. And I asked her, I said, why are you always crying in the middle of the night praying for me?
Welcome to Pastor's Hub. In this video, Pastor Jerry Eze shares the saddest story of his life in the church. The whole place was so quiet as the members were so emotional. Saddest story of his life. People were shedding tears as the man of God shared this saddest story of his life, talking about his mother. I want us to go through this story. It's so emotional, it's so touching. I know you are going to learn one or two things about life, and please pick up something from this video as we go through this video together. God bless you, and I will see you next time.
I would wake up in the middle of the night and I discovered that my mom was praying, holding my legs, and her tears were touching my legs. And then she was praying profusely. And then it concerned me a little bit, because if I woke up and I saw my mom was crying and holding my legs and her tears were touching my legs, sleep would just leave my eyes. And I kept wondering, why is she crying? Is it anything? Is there so? One day we were coming back from a Wednesday midweek service. And I asked her, I said, why are you always crying in the middle of the night praying for me? My dear mother said to me, what God has revealed to her about me, that she doesn't have the capacity. The word is not capacity. She said, I don't know how to do it. So when I hold you and pray for you, I'm just asking you, him, to help me make you who he wants you to be, because I cannot do it. And every time, you see, I want to tell every woman here, the first reason why God gave you your child is for you to know who you are betting. Every prayer you're going to make might be outside of the will of God if God doesn't reveal your child to you. And my mom never stopped praying. She continued to pray. She continued to pray. I don't know the burden, but I would always say that if there is anything I desire, I would have wanted her to see days like this, so that she can look back and know. It's true that a woman you can pray your children into destiny. It is true. There is no prayer said over, no matter how stubborn a child is right now, no matter how much they look like they are not fitting into destiny, there's no prayer said over a child that is a waste. God does not stop prayers. He answers them. And so when I am a little bit confounded when I see mothers who can pray, and I'm not talking about vain repetition, I'm talking about revelational prayers. Lord, show me about my child. What are the challenges of this child? What will this, let me say this. I remember the first time I brought my wife to my mother, and I told my wife this. I brought my wife to my mother and I showed my wife and I said, this is the person I'm going to marry. She said, I said, So she said, where is she from? I said, she's from Calabar. She said, So immediately she said, I said, my mother is biased. My mother is very biased. So she now asked my wife to excuse her a bit, that she wants to talk to me. She said last night that I brought somebody to her, and that she wants to tell me that I will have problem, that she's not stopping me, but that there will be problem. And the truth is, You and I, of course, you already know the story, all the book my wife wrote and all of that. If you're a mother here and God is not talking to you about your children, you are parenting in blindness. At least God should be able to tell you, who is this child? Where is this child going to? What is becoming of this child? My mother said that to me. That's one very fundamental thing she said to me. She said, I don't know how to make you become who God says, so I'm asking God to help me. And that's the first prayer I'm going to pray. Whether you have a child or you don't have a child, whether they are adults or whether they are young, I make the first prayer. When you don't have the capacity to make your child who your child is supposed to be, even if you don't know the compass and you don't know how to make that child become, I pray for you today. Let God that gave you those children, at the sound of your amen, let God make them who He wants them to be. Your weaknesses will not speak against your children. Your failures will not speak against your children. Today I pray for your own children. Any child currently going through any attack, I pray today, let those attacks be broken right now. I say, let them be broken right now. 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 Let your amen thunder louder. Take your seat. And you know, I remember on an occasion where in our local church, it was the very first time I was sitting with my mother, in fact, in the church, right at the back. I was probably between maybe, I can't remember, maybe I was 10, between 9 and 10 or 11, between 9, 10 and 11. So they announced in church that we're going to have 3 days dry fasting. 3 days dry fasting in church. So I turned to my mother. I told my mother that I will do 1 day of the fast because I really loved God. I loved everything about God. I said I will do 1 day of the fast. My mother turned to me and said, you will do the 3 days. I told my mother, I'm a child. My mother, I've never forgotten, opened Jeremiah for me. She reads Igbo Bible. My mother reads Igbo Bible, and she opened Jeremiah for me. You remember when Jeremiah said, I am a child, I cannot speak. Then God replied Jeremiah and said to Jeremiah, do not say I am a child. Church, you cannot believe that this is how my mother and I went through a journey of 3 days. Dry fasting. I died and I woke up. And the fast had not yet finished. People of God, you know now, they will call it child abuse. But my mother abused me into destiny. Let me say this. You know, there are people you can't even fight because the prayers over their heads are older than you. You can't even trifle with them. So there are things that are going to be happening in the lives of your children, and it will not be because the children you see, what is even working for you? This guy is not disciplined. This guy does not have sense. This guy, but whatever he touches works. Somebody's praying for them. Listen, I want to tell everyone, especially those of us who have children who are still coming up and you have control over, don't shy away from introducing them to spiritual discipline. Don't shy away from introducing them to spiritual. When your child, if your child has reached 6 years, your child can do fasting. He can do 6 to 12. It does not kill anybody. He can do 6 to 12, 6 to 10. But shall let him know that you cannot wake up in the morning today and eat. My mother introduced me to spiritual discipline in line with my destiny, not in accordance with my age. This is why God has to speak to you about every child, because you know what to apply to the child based on who that child is. Always, I've never forgotten this. My mother said to me, you're going to, and I did the 3 days, but by the 3rd day I was under the bench. I was right under the bench, and there was a prophetic word going on. So prophecy was going on. I'm sure some of you are not used to that, but a prophetic word was going on. Right under the bench was where I was. So while they were prophesying, I was, if you've ever done fasting for that long, sleep will not agree, but yet you cannot be awake. So you just be torn in between. Apostle Paul say, whether it be in heaven, I do not know. Whether it be, I don't even know where I was at that time. Right where I was, prophetic word caught me where I was and then brought me out. The first concise and precise blueprint of my life was given that day. How I was going to serve the nations, how so and so was going to happen, how the miraculous was going to break out, and I don't forget her. And that was how let me tell you, some people did not just show up. You didn't just see them. They are a product of so many things that have happened. And so I remember my mother on another occasion. I guess once I'm just sharing these 7 things about what my encounters with my mother. Hey, let me say this. My mother was not a perfect woman, by the way. And I'm sure that I've told you that she was a single parent. In fact, let me share with you an issue that went on. I mean, after she got born again, so I'd gone out, I was very young, and I'd gone out to, play with the other children. And so I don't know what happened. So one of the children started calling me bastard. Bastard. God, bastard. Go and call your father. Go and call your father. And I went back and I told my mother that boy that lives at 18 called me a bastard. I should go and call my father. My mother said to me, I did it when I didn't know God. He said, but I know God now. He said, what they called you is what they think of you, but what he called you is not who you are. My mother said to me, from today, God is your father. Listen to what my mother said. My mother said to me that his own father cannot give him everything he wants, because his own father does not have everything. He says, but your own father has everything and can give you everything. From that day till today, I don't even care who is who or who is not who. And I want to use this to encourage every single parent here. Never feel I can't raise a great child. Never feel that my children cannot turn out right. Look at Pastor Jerry.